Department of Public Works and Highways Batangas 1st District Engineer Abelardo Calalo denies bribing Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste. Leviste recently filed cases for corruption of public officials and violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act against Calalo, following his alleged attempt to offer Leviste 3.1 million pesos to stop the investigation on the flood control projects in Batangas. According to Calalo, the 3.1 million pesos was only the donation of a contractor that Uswag Ilonggo Party List Representative Jojo Ang instructed him to bring for the Solon's projects in the district. Calalo is referring to the alleged instruction of Ang for him to supposedly collect donations from construction contractors with existing 2025 DPWH projects within the 1st District of Batangas as a show of support for the projects and programs of Leviste. In his counter-affidavit submitted on Friday, September 5, Calalo says he has no intention to hand over the collected donation to Leviste. Rather, Calalo explains that he only brought the donations of the contractors solely upon the instructions of Ang. Calalo insists that it was Leviste who wanted to discuss further about the contractors and whether the project bidding was fixed. He adds that Leviste was the one who first mentioned the percentages of money from the contractors. Calalo asserts that the corruption and bribing accusations made against him were either contrived or founded on a twisting of the truth and clearly part of a political agenda. The district engineer alleges that on August 14, Leviste visited him in his office, asking him to reveal the contractors awarded with projects by former Congressman Eric Buhain. Calalo also explains that he told Leviste it would be difficult for him to provide information on something that he has no personal knowledge of. Calalo says he felt Leviste was dissatisfied with his answer. He also says he suspected that Leviste intended for him to be removed from his position and be replaced by another district engineer. Calalo also denies that he conducted corrupt practices involving the contractors and Buhain. Calalo was recently arrested following the said alleged bribe attempt but was later released after posting a total bail of 150,000 pesos. In response to Calalo's counter-affidavit, Leviste points out that Calalo had essentially admitted to receiving donations from contractors. Leviste also notes that Calalo appeared to have omitted another contractor he had previously mentioned, who was supposedly willing to give an initial 50 million pesos donation, as well as how he had spoken with several others who were also ready and willing to send their support. Newly assigned Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon did not make any presentation for the budget deliberations at the House of Representatives, vowing instead to adhere to President Bongbong Marcos's directive to fix the agency's budget. In his opening speech during the House Committee on Appropriations hearing on the Department of Public Works and Highways budget on Friday, September 5, Dizon says he and Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman will revise, fix, and overhaul, if needed, the proposed 2026 budget after several errors were discovered by lawmakers.
Kami po ni Secretary Mina ay susunod po sa utos ng Pangulo na kailangan nating rebisahin at repasuhin at kung kinakailangan baguhin ang budget po na isinumite ng DPWH. Yun po ang hihingiin ko po sa inyong tulong. Tulungan niyo po kami. Kaya po ngayon, pasensya na po, hindi po ako makakapag-present.
Dizon admits that despite his years in the government, he could not make any sense of the DPWH's budget prepared under former Secretary Manuel Bonoan, who resigned recently.
Aaminin ko po sa inyo, halos wala po akong maintindihan sa gulo ng budget na nakikita ko. Kahit na po matagal na po ako sa gobyerno, marami-rami na rin po akong ahensyang nahawakan. Ako po gitong-gito hanggang ngayon.
With no presentation in hand, Cagayan de Oro's 2nd District Representative Rufus Rodriguez asks that Dizon be excused so that he can focus on fixing what Rodriguez called errors in the budget. However, Appropriations Committee Chairperson and Nueva Ecija 1st District Representative Micaela Swansing says that hearings should continue, noting that members could refer to the proposed budget or the 2026 National Expenditures Program and the Budget of Expenditures and Sources of Financing. Calls for budget transparency and investigations of infrastructure projects intensified after President Marcos's strong-worded rebuke of government officials and firms alleged to have taken kickbacks at the expense of flood-hit communities. In the same hearing, the House Committee on Appropriations then defers the discussions on DPWH's budget for 2026 to wait for the errata that will be finalized by the Department of Budget and Management and the DPWH. The next hearing will be held on a date not later than September 16, 2025. The Pasig City Police Station reaffirms its commitment to maintaining peace and order after the protests and vandalism at the St. Gerard construction building in Pasig City, owned by contractors Sara and Curly Discaya. Pasig Police Chief Colonel Hendrix Mangaldan says officers will enforce the law without fear or favor amid criticism of alleged favoritism and rising tension between protesters and private security personnel. Mangaldan is calling on the public to trust in the legal process and to respect the rule of law at all times. Mangaldan adds that the unruly behavior that disrupts public order will be addressed firmly in accordance with existing laws. Mangaldan stresses that all citizens, whether public officials or private individuals, are subject to the same laws. He says that allegations of special treatment will be investigated to maintain the integrity of our institution. The police chief says officers are deployed at rallies to de-escalate tensions and protect both protesters and residents, adding that law enforcement also supports constructive dialogue and peaceful expression of dissent. On September 4, flood survivors and environmental activists protested outside St. Gerard Construction's headquarters in Pasig City, accusing the Discaya family of involvement in alleged irregularities in flood control projects. Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto, responding to the same incidents, earlier urged demonstrators to avoid violence. A section under the International Criminal Court Registry submitted more victim applications seeking to join the possible trial of former President Rodrigo Duterte over alleged crimes against humanity charges. On August 27, the ICC's Victims' Participation and Reparations section transmitted 25 more victim applications to participate in pre-trial proceedings. The pre-trial Chamber 1 received 15 applications from Group A and 10 applications under Group B. No further details were made available, and the registry annexes to the present transmission are classified as confidential ex parte or without notice to the other party, which is the defense team. The 25 new victim applications are on top of the more than 300 people under Group C, which was submitted on August 20. The alleged victims in Duterte's case also include those who were indirectly affected, such as family members or relatives who supposedly suffered psychological harm. They will share before the chamber their testimonies during the pre-trial hearings and later on in the trial proper, once the charges against Duterte are confirmed to have sufficient evidence. The former president's confirmation of charges hearing will be held on September 23. Meanwhile, the defense team of the former president has told a pre-trial court of the ICC that it is ready with its set of counter-evidence that will be presented before the court this month. In a redacted document dated September 2, former President Duterte's lead defense attorney, Nicholas Kaufman, notified the pre-trial Chamber 1 that the pieces of evidence he would submit for the confirmation of charges hearings supposedly support arguments challenging various legal aspects of the documents containing the charges. The government will launch a single nationwide 911 emergency hotline, replacing more than 30 local numbers in a bid to speed up police, fire, medical, and disaster response. The Department of the Interior and local government says the unified 911 system will connect callers to emergency services through one network. The agency explains the hotline will address years of confusion and uneven response times caused by fragmented hotlines. The nationwide 911 emergency hotline will be launched on September 11. DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla describes the hotline as a lifeline and says operators are trained to reassure callers with a message saying help is on the way. According to the DILG, the target response time is 5 minutes. The service will be free of charge and is available nationwide 24/7. The agency says it will be capable of handling calls in major Philippine languages including Tagalog, Cebuano, Ilocano, Waray, and Tausug. The DILG says the Unified 911 is more than a technical reform, casting it as a step towards stronger and safer communities.